Hey legends, James Russell from TradieVA, and every week on the Time Rich Tradie, we focus on building a trade empire, getting you off those tools, but hopefully not spending 80 hours a week doing it. If you like what you hear, subscribe, get more juice. What's that sound? That is the sound of the frustration that every business owner feels. It's the sound of the boomerang effect. You know what that is. You finally decide to delegate a task to one of your apprentices, to your VA. You got it over that emotional baggage that stopped you letting go for so long. You throw it out to your team, hoping to get it off your plate. Instead of getting it done, comes back, smacks you in the head. It spins around, there's mistakes, comes back with errors, and you find yourself thinking, I've spent more time training, supporting them to do this than I would have spent time doing it myself. There's a hidden cost other than your emotional well-being to the boomerang effect. One, loss of trust. You start losing faith in your team's ability to deliver. The second one, though, is much more, it's not quite as recognized, but I really think this is the key and the killer here. There's actually a lack of confidence and a loss of confidence your team now has in themselves. Your team loses faith in themselves. They feel like they keep failing you. Why show initiative? Why try? Why go outside the box? Why deliver more when all it's going to do is get them in trouble? And then you fall into the robot trap. You know it. You stop delegating and you go back to doing everything yourself. You've created a robot that doesn't actually fix your problems. This person you're delegating to, you delegate 30% of what they're capable of. They're not satisfied. They leave. You're not creating leaders. And you go back to being the only person in the business who can do things. You're wearing all the hats. You've been there. There's something you've handed out. You've taken it back. If you don't fix this, you're going to stop scaling. You just become that tired business owner with a team you don't trust, and everything comes back to you. More questions, more bottlenecks, more late nights. Now, the mistake you're often making here is you're focusing on the how. We've talked so many times about the 10-80-10 principle, and we're going to apply it right here, but in a way that is so simple. When I say the how, you're focusing on the 80% that your talent is doing wrong. So what does that look like? They can find out the how on YouTube, by the way. Let's just get that straight. Most of the stuff you do is you're not a unique snowflake. What they need from you is the 3 C's. Clarity, context, closing the loop. The first 10%, they need the first 2 C's. Clarity and context. What do I mean by clarity? What I mean is you're going to spend 10 minutes max. Most of these will take you 5 minutes. Doing a 1-page document that gives them clarity and context. Clarity over the why. Why are they doing this job? It's not sending invoices. It's you need to make sure that clients pay on time for the right amount of materials and labor, ensuring we have a 30% profit margin. That's the goal. That's the business goal. They need to understand the objective. So that's the number 1. Clarity over the purpose. They need clarity over the impact. What's the impact of doing this? What's the impact if we don't do it? And they need clarity over the trigger. When does this happen? They need clarity over the output. What is the definition of done? What is the go, no-go checklist? What does it actually look like as an output? What, if it landed on your desk, would say it's okay? What that would actually look like is a draft email in my inbox at 3 p.m. with the invoice attached and a list of the materials and labor and the profit made on them. Done. That means, again, we're going to look at what the last 10% is and where that closing the loop is, but that now gives them absolute clarity. What done looks like, what the purpose is. Again, by the way, none of this is about how to do it yet. This is 1 page. If it takes you longer than 10 minutes, you spent too long. Now we want to give them context. That's the how. That's the easy bit. Now we want to understand is what is the context? Where does this sit in the context of what they need to do? What that looks like is you just doing the job. That's just you recording what it is you need to do. That's where that sits. You probably only need to do 3 recordings if you're letting go a job. That's if it's a job. If it's a project, it'll need to be context around where it sits in the why. Why does this project exist? Okay, so you get clarity and context. 1 page, 10 minutes max. But you must provide this first. Now, then Obviously, now you've got absolute clarity. You've got the trigger, deadline, why, definition of done. It all falls over if we don't run the last 10%, the last C, closing the loop. This is about taking what it is you've done, creating that safety and that feedback loop, that ability for whatever you've missed to come back up and make sure that they're safe in showing initiative, moving towards that objective without getting in trouble, and also without creating a lack of consistency in your customer experience. So the first thing you need to do is schedule. When is the sync that you're going to be looking at and reviewing this? Book it in. This is what it is. If it's 3 p.m., you've asked for that draft. You've got a whole bunch of invoices that are getting drafted for the next day. Half an hour tomorrow is when you're going to close the loop. You're going to go over and compare what you've said as the definition of done to what they've done. Very simple. No emotion. We're just going to sink in, check that everything's ready to go, answer any questions that have come up. Again, probably because there was lack of clarity. Send them off. Tomorrow will be better than today. 10 minutes at the beginning, setting up clarity and context. 80% of that job can get done. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever it takes, depending on the job you're delegating, to close the loop, go from the definition of done, and feed that back into the clarity. If there's something came up, we need to add that to the definition of done checklist. Perfect, awesome, good pickup. We'll touch base tomorrow on the sync until that goes from abdicated to delegated, until you now have that faith and they have that faith in themselves. So has this gotten rid of all those hidden costs? Has this got rid of the boomerang effect? Can you now start to get faith in your team's ability to deliver? Yes, because now they're giving you something that you can work with that you know is going to get better tomorrow than it is today, whatever that is. Are they going to start getting more faith in themselves? Yes, because they've been given rope. They've been able to get stuff done with absolute clarity, and they know that it's safe. Final thought, you look at ROI of your team. Are they 80%, 90% billable hours? Now let's look at the ROI of spending 10 minutes. 10 minutes extra at the beginning, 5 to 10 minutes. You say you don't have time. But now you've been able to let go and you've created a leader who can think for themselves. When you provide clarity, context, and you close the loop, you stop the boomerang. You turn it into a frisbee. That was a terrible metaphor. But it goes and it stays there. You build a team that feels safe, competent, and they're ready to take ownership. You don't build a robot and you don't become one yourself. You build a leader by giving them that full picture, spending that 10 minutes, 10, 80, 10. Legends, if this one's hit home, don't sit on it. Your team will thank you so much for giving them the clarity, and your business and your sanity will depend on the clarity of those systems. And as always, systemize it, optimize it, delegate it. That's how you're going to scale it. Catch you next time on the Time Rich Tradie.